League Two was kind of bonkers, as it so often is, last weekend, because all 12 home teams were favourites to win their games with Sky Bet before the weekend, and many of them had a perceived greater than 50% chance of winning. But there were only 2 home wins total. There were 4 draws and there were 6 away wins, George. One of them, Gillingham winning 1-0 at Oldham, sent them top of the pile.
Yes, here we are again. It is early September. The season is in its infancy. Gillingham are top of the league. Their fans are cock-a-hoop. What could be going wrong? They're unbeaten. Yeah, they're doing really well. Sam Vokes scored the all-important goal here, a header from a corner, after Oldham had been the team that had gone closest to scoring up to that point within the game, missing a couple of decent opportunities in the first half and early in the second half. Look, I don't want to upset Gillingham fans because we've been here before, and I know that, especially this point of the season, if I wanted an easy life, you wouldn't mention this because, if you're a Gillingham fan, you're tuning into this because you want to hear about your top of the league and we've won on the road and like how well they're doing. But I just want to say that this is, again, another example where Gillingham seem to me to be massively overperforming their underlying numbers, that they are winning games, they're winning incredibly tight games at the moment, and whether that can continue, I'm not entirely sure that it will unless their performances improve.
I did a bit of analysis on NTT20.com's weekend notes on this. And the massive positive are the defensive numbers.
For sure.
And the back line looks very sturdy. They've had some injuries, OG and Masterson, those who have filled in, they haven't missed a beat, and they have conceded the 3rd fewest shots on target in League Two this season.
Yeah.
And with Ainsworth in charge and the sort of players he likes to have at the back and the way that they play, I could easily believe that Gills will end up being a top 7, potentially top 3 defence in League Two this season.
Yeah.
And we know, and we always point to Wimbledon last season, that if you are a top 3 defence, that gives you a good chance of being let's say, a top 7 side. When it comes to being a top 3 side, the stats and recent history show that you really need to be better than Gillingham are in attack currently to make the top 3. So for shots on target, only Newport, Tranmere and Barrow have had fewer than Gills this season. 5 of their goals have been from set pieces, 2 from the penalty spot out of their 9 in total. So can you be a top 3 team sustained over the course of a season with those numbers? Well, in the last 4 completed League Two seasons, the 28 teams that have finished in the top 7, only 2 have finished bottom half for shots on target. 2 out of 28 top 7 teams have been bottom half for shots on target. That was Crewe in 23-24, Northampton in 21-22. It is possible, but it is improbable that unless Gillingham improve their chance creation, and that could happen, by the way, teams do get better going forward throughout the course of the season, then they can do it.
That's what it is. It's if the performances don't improve, and it's it's the infancy of the season at the moment, and things can definitely improve. But bringing the XG into it, they've got a negative non-penalty expected goals ratio at the moment, which again, it's incredibly rare for that to track over the course of a season and for a team to be challenging for the top spots. So I would love nothing more than to sit here now, especially as as someone who absolutely loves the work that Gareth Ainsworth does when he gets it right. I'd love to sit here and be like, yes, this is a really good side who are here for the long haul. But the evidence we have to hand at the moment, I would say, suggests that there could be a lean spelling coming rather than a positive spell. And I can already, because I've said this about Gillingham the last 2 seasons, I can feel what's coming my way, but let's hope I'm wrong this time.
On the 1st of September 2023, 2 years ago today, they were joint top on 12 points from 5 games. Neil Harris was sacked 5 weeks later. Gillingham finished 12th. On the 1st of September 2024, on this day last year, Mark Bonner's Gills, top of League Two on 10 points from 4 games.
Mad, isn't it?
Bonner was sacked 4 months later. Gillingham finished 17th. So, as I constantly try and tell people, your history doesn't define you, right? Don't get put in a box. And what you've done before doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen again.
That is, if anything, I would say that that's irrelevant. Like, if anything, it should go the other way eventually. But it's like an anomaly that the same football club with 3 different managers and quite a big high squad churn for 3 seasons in a row have posted underwhelming underlying numbers, yet have been top of the league. And in the last 2, it's caught up with them pretty quickly. And I would say that this time around, there might be more cause for optimism. But I would think that there might be. I'd be surprised if they're still top playing this way in a few weeks' time.
It's incredibly juicy, is what it is.
Yeah.
It's incredibly juicy. And I thought you'd enjoy the prospect of a bit of back and forth with Gills fans, because I've never met anyone who loves tweeting
but it's fun.
people more than you.
It's more fun when it's new. The issue is, the reason I'm like annoyed is that it's Reading and Gillingham again, and I just we've been around the houses. Let's not do it again. Let's not go with the accusations of bias and you hate us. What's your issue with Gillingham, George? I don't have one. I've had some great days in that lovely open-ended stand at the back where it's getting very wet. So,
do you think if we did a domestic cricket podcast, you would
cricket again
be very anti-Kent Spitfires?
No.
I think you would.
No.
It just feels like you hate Kent, mate, to be honest with you.
No, I don't. Let's not do that.
Oldham.
Let's not set me up against the whole county.
Oldham.
I got engaged in Kent.
Whoa, so did I.
Yeah, because you copied me. That's what happened. Famously.
Oh my God, that's good. Oldham haven't won a game yet. 4 draws, 2 defeats. I think are broadly playing fine, but letting themselves down in front of goal in the main. How about Crewe 0, Swindon 3?
Ooh.
Yeah, not a great last couple of games for Crewe after such a strong start to the season. I'm not looking at this and seeing loads that has suddenly gone terribly wrong. But after Josh March had an early chance, it was 3 first-half goals for Swindon. The first, when Gavin Big Switch Kilkenny, who has, to be fair, since being given that nickname about 5 or 6 years ago, added quite a lot more to his game than just big switches. Just drove through the heart of the midfield, had a go, deflected into the far corner, 1-0. Then, really bad back pass from Connolly to Booth, who controlled it brilliantly on his chest, and then got a bit high on his own supply and decided to try and chuck in a little feint, a little shimmy, and instead of just boot it away, try and go past the attacker. Got tackled, 2-0 Glatzel. And then the third goal, another example, just like last weekend, of a sweeping passing move, ending in a lovely goal for Swindon Town. Kilkenny to Oldacre to Drynan for 3-0. And yeah, I mean, I've always loved Kilkenny. I think he's an exceptional player for League Two level. The passing has always been there since he broke into Bournemouth's team under Scott Parker. But now he seems to have added the confidence to carry through midfield as well. Yes, he's playing in League Two, not in the Championship. So it's not that surprising that he's looking better at this level. But I'm seeing someone growing so much in confidence now that they are playing consistently. And that's really exciting. And yes, he is a little short and people like athleticism and size and strength in midfield these days. But with what he can do on the ball, certainly at this level, he's a hell of an asset for Swindon. And with Harry Smith out, I said, I was really looking forward, as much as I was sad for Harry Smith and for Swindon to lose a big focal point, to seeing if their attacking football could be really dynamic and a bit more fluid without that focal point, forcing them to play another way. And in the 2 league games since, they have scored 2 10 out of 10 passing moves and signed Ollie Palmer, who will, once he's up and running, slot into the Harry Smith role.
Correct.
Which, it's a bit bittersweet for me. He's obviously a very good player. I'm sure he'll be very good. But there's a part of me that's like, is there a world where Swindon would be a better team without a target man striker? I don't know. George, Grimsby, Cup heroes, league losers, 1-0 to Bristol Rovers at Blundell Park, doing what Manchester United couldn't.
Yeah, scoring Brennan Boma did it, and then Macaulay Southern Hales did it. Scored a really nice goal into the low end of the corner at Blundell Park at the other end, though.
Technique-wise, one of the goals of the season so far.
Yeah, beautifully hit. This was a game where, if you're Bristol Rovers, it's a really good away win at one of the best teams in the league so far this season. If you're a Grimsby Town fan, you're frustrated about the result, and you'll rue the missed chances, but I wouldn't say there's anything really to get too concerned about. The best chance fell to your friend of mine, Jace Cabia, with a header that he couldn't divert on target. Grimsby create opportunities, weren't able to take them. It wasn't like it was an absolute onslaught, but similarly, they probably deserved a point out of the game. But Bristol Rovers defended incredibly well, as best shown by a brilliant stop. I think from Vernham, or was it from Green? But anyway, either way, Kilgore blocked on the line and just did one of those huge celebrations in the face of Luke Sutherland, the keeper, which you've always got to love. So yeah, Bristol Rovers needed this, I think, under Darryl Clark, and they got a really important win. For Grimsby, it's been a hell of a week, and frustration they couldn't press home the good feeling from midweek. But yeah, as I say, they're still a very good side who I think they're a team who I'm pretty confident will be up towards the top end if they maintain their performances.
Nice. Yeah, another 1-0 away win. Very much against the odds here was Walsall's at MK Dons. It was a fairly quiet first half. Walsall doing a pretty good job, as they often do, of making things just pretty low margin and without a lot going on away from home in particular. And then 52nd minute, Farquharson wins the ball in midfield, in defence rather, and just drives and shows strength, shields the ball and keeps driving, slips it to Charlie Lakin, shot from outside the box, into the corner, 1-0 Walsall. That woke MK up, and after the goal, they did come on pretty strong, I think it's fair to say. Miles Roberts in goal for Walsall made 5 saves. One of them in particular from, I think, Mendes Lang was absolutely sensational. And Walsall had to handle what looked like a really nasty injury to Evan Weir. They had to make quite a lot of changes in the second half, and those that came on did what they needed to see it out. They are not the team you want to go behind to Walsall, and they seem to, in terms of like their sort of confidence and composure after the end of last season, they seem to have made some good steps to kind of improving on that, and this is a good example, seeing out a 1-0 win against the league favourites, lest we forget. Harry, MK's fan, said he thought Walsall were excellent today, had us pinned for the first 20 and we were lucky not to be behind. Harper and Kanu really positive in the first half. When you think of how differently this season could have started for Walsall, and frankly, I reckon most neutrals and a lot of Walsall fans would have been like, they'll start the season badly like they ended the season, and Sadler will be sacked, and then they'll be 6 games in looking for a new manager.
Sounds like,
and the season will be a write-off.
Sounds like you when we were doing our 124 clashing.
I think I raised it as a potential scenario, but credit where it's due to Matt Sadler.
Yes,
that has not been the case, and to you, George Elek, as well, because you've always believed in him.
No.
You've always believed in Fleetwood Town. They won the Pete Wild Derby 1-0 at Barrow.
Yeah, not too much point doing any detailed analysis in this, because when a team gets a man sent off after 10 minutes for what was just a really stupid foul from Niall Canavan, it seemed like a weekend of a lot of just kind of last man tugs.
Yeah,
and that's what Canavan did for this one.
Sometimes it's just a last man tug weekend.
No, at least this one wasn't a penalty, but it was a red card, and Barrow playing with 10 men for probably 90 minutes, including injury times, was never going to be particularly easy. The goal came thanks to Ryan Graydon. Just a ball in the box from Helm, knocked down to Graydon, and he slammed it home. Fleetwood had a few more opportunities. Barrow stayed in the game relatively well, but were unable to grab what would have been a smash and grab point from a few chances late on. But again, I think annoyance probably for Andy Wing and his team that off the back of a really good win, they were unable to follow that up, going 11v11 in a game that would have mattered a lot to them, given who was in the opposition dugout. For Fleetwood, just they against 10, they made their advantage count and were the better team and good value for it. So a good win for Fleetwood. For Barrow, just frustration, but they'll move on.
Tranmere 1, Notts County 2. Not a result that I saw coming. Tranmere, with my nap on the betting show, impressed with Notts, particularly doing this from behind when I wasn't quite sure that the vibe around Notts County was particularly strong, and therefore I'd have thought going down away at Tranmere might have seen them sort of meekly surrender to defeat. But no, Omari Patrick, icon, scored another goal to put Tranmere ahead. But after nice work from Tom Iopenda for Notts on loan from Huddersfield, there was Dennis again with a nice finish. Notts striker looking very good. Then we had a second goal for Notts where Dennis should have scored again, really. And the most notable thing in this goal was quick counter-attack after a poor pass from Smallwood. Who was that playing a little back heel into the path of Dennis to set him clear? It was only Alassane Jatta, the striker
Where have you been?
Who had a violent conduct end to last season. An agent who's been very clear that Jatta, well, he certainly would like Jatta to move on. As we record with 4 hours left of the window, no news on a Jatta departure. Reintegrated into the team for the first time here and linking up very nicely with Dennis on the basis of this, which could be quite an interesting storyline to look out for over the next few weeks. Dennis's one-on-one was pretty poorly taken, saved by the keeper, looped up, and there was Kellen Gordon to volley in Notts' winner. This is big for them and for Martin Patterson. They need more games like this, more wins like this, where they show that nice mixture of quality, but also grit and determination and all those sorts of things. Their games this season, Notts County, have produced more goals than any other EFL side. They've scored 11, they've conceded 9 for 20 goals, over 3 per game. Couple of 2-0 home wins. I love a 2-0 home win. I love what it represents. Comfort, strength, wins. Bromley 2, Harrogate 0.
Yeah, I guess you had your eye on this one.
Keep your eye on Bromley.
You always do. I was worried about Bromley this season and their lack of pace out wide, having lost a couple of players, Danny Imre in particular. But it turns out bringing Mitch Pinnock, who his set-piece delivery is phenomenal. And in Omar Shomi, they have probably the person most likely to get their head on the first contact on the ball of anyone in League Two. And that's working quite nicely. Both these goals came from set pieces. Kabamba scored off the second phase basically from a knockdown from a set piece. And then a ball from Pinnock from a free kick that was straight on the head of Shomi, who fired, basically powerfully headed home from, quite far out for a header. This is off the back of Bromley dominating the game. They were the better team. Duke McKenna had a chance for Harrogate at 0-0. He was unable to take. But Bromley were very good here. And I thought they would regress from an impressive season last season, but they look so solid at the back as they were last season, but also not lacking the creativity that I was worried that they would, and not as reliant on Michael Cheap for goals. So all in all, top marks Bromley.
Love that from you. Really good analysis.
Thank you.
Cambridge 2, Newport 0. Solid 2-0 win for Neil Harris's side. He reckons they haven't got out of third gear yet, which suggests, depending on what car he's driving, the possibility that they might have at least 2, but possibly even 3 gears left, which is pretty exciting. I've got my eye on Cambridge. They've been, I wouldn't say they've been spectacular to start the season, but I quite like what I've seen from them. They've certainly managed the drop down from League 1 to League 2 better than most teams seem to. And I think there's potential if they can keep players fit. He was talking about how he's having to leave Loft at the moment out the squad. He's got a couple coming back in. You can't guarantee that everyone will be fit all the time. But I've got my eye on Cambridge as well as Bromley. Maybe just because I love 2-0 home wins. Good week for them after beating Charlton in the Cup as well. Just took their chances here really and kept Newport pretty quiet. Watts scored a header from a corner. And then the second goal, Kouassi hitting the post and James Brophy with the rebound. Matt Ramsey, brilliant Cambridge United reporter, making the point that in James Brophy's first 197 Cambridge appearances, he scored 2 goals, one every 98.5 games. In his last 18 Cambridge appearances, he has scored 7 goals, one every 2.5 games. So fair play to Brophy for unlocking goal scoring. And a great boon for Cambridge to have him doing that, because he's a clever player even outside of goals scoring. 4 draws, Chesterfield 2, Crawley 2. Harry McCurdy had Crawley 2-0 up. 2-0 up. First one going round the goalkeeper, who came charging out, finishing off and giving it the old super soaker to the family stand. Love to see it. Then a very soft penalty, in my eyes anyway, and McCurdy had them 2-0 up from the spot, giving the super soaker to the main stand behind the goal, which is a bit more lively. Probably a better option. He also backheeled one in for a hat-trick, but was just offside. And then the beast awoke. Chesterfield coming back into it. Dylan Duffy with a lovely left footer from 20 yards. Armando Dobra finishing a nice move from the penalty spot, which he's done a couple of times this season. They probably didn't create as many good opportunities after that point than I would have expected, given they're a good attacking team and Crawley haven't looked great defensively. And actually, Crawley almost won it at the end. There's no getting away from it. Kaheem Dixon's 1-on-1 was an absolute shocker. He's through streaking clear, and he throws in this weird dummy shot, which doesn't confuse the goalkeeper, but does throw him off balance. And then when he
himself
tries to go around him, they managed to recover the ball. 2-2 there, 1-1 Barnet Colchester, very late equaliser from Collins, the Barnet defender, 2 goals from centre-backs here, both nice finishes as well. After Tucker had put Colchester ahead, Barnet's goal to equalise was a nicely worked move, the sort of goal I kind of expected to see more of, and hopefully we will, from Barnet this season. Good news from Colchester in the week was the new contract signed by the Cowleys. It's not been an amazing start to the season for them. I think some fans starting to get a little concerned that the Cowleys might consider that their ambitions aren't being matched by the club, and no takeover has sort of come through anytime soon and doesn't look imminent, but committed their future to the club. They obviously have a real affinity to that area, and it looks like they're going to keep keep their sleeves rolled up and keep working, which is good news for Colchester United. And Salford won, Cheltenham won on Friday night, 26 shots to 5 here, pretty much the stats you would have expected, but nice move for Cheltenham's opening goal. Jude Boyd down the right, cutting it back for Miller to finish. Miller then had a one-on-one that was saved by Young, the Sunderland keeper on loan at Salford, who's recently got a call up to the England under-21s with a really good 1v1 save. And then, inevitably, a Salford equaliser. Longello cross from the right, Kadeem Harris stealing in at the back post to head into the top corner for 1-1. And Shrewsbury 0, Accrington 0 was a match that happened. Both teams having one off the line here. Michael Appleton furious that his Shrewsbury side couldn't get their first win of the season. 0-0